says panelists and attendees, so everybody can see what you were writing. And say hi. I'm Kathy. I'm joining from Wadsworth, Illinois, which is a change for me over the last 2 weeks. I moved from Evanston to Wadsworth, which is called the Village of Country Living. I've never been a country girl before, so this is like interesting. So just who's here? Hi, Tammy from Pennsylvania. Hi, Denise from Hagerstown, Maryland. We're going to get started in just a couple minutes. We'd like to open, do the real start, the hard start at on the hour. Hi, Christina from Columbia, Missouri, and Danielle from Akron, Ohio. Great to see everybody here today. We had 80 people sign up, but it seems like competition for people's time these last couple of weeks has been really, really intense because our attrition rate is higher. And I know with me, when I'm busy, I sign up for things and then I really intend to do it. It sounds great. I want to do it. And then I can't do it at the time it's called for. But the good thing is that these are all recorded and they're all available for you, for your colleagues, and for the families you serve. You can access these on our website and our YouTube channel. So we encourage you to make use of them in that way.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Just a few more seconds. Who else is here? Say hi. And Christina and Danielle, don't make sure you're doing to all panelists and attendees so that, because this is like one of the major ways that we have interactivity in the webinars is through the chat. So we want to make sure that not just the panelists can see who you are and where you're joining from. Hi, Leah from Michigan. And it's 12 o'clock, so let's get started. Paul is here from Be Strong Families. We're very grateful to have his assistant. And I'm joined here by Andrea Felder from Maryland, who is one of our community, a parent leader, and she has volunteered to do this webinar. So we're very grateful for her sending us an email and being able to set this up. And the theme or the topic is helping families with home management during and after a pandemic. So welcome, Andrea.
Yes, thank you. So glad to be here.
And where are you in Maryland?
St. Mary's County, Maryland. So
awesome. Well, welcome. And then let's move to I'll just do a little bit of introduction in terms of our ways to engage. The primary one is the chat. You're already using it and it's yours anytime. Denise loves St. Mary's County, by the way. She's in Town, so she loves St. Mary's County. So anytime you want questions, comments, talk to each other, the chat is yours. And then if you are moved to want to say something, it's too long for the chat, you want your voice to be heard, raise your hand, and then Paul will unmute you. You'll need to unmute yourself, and then you'll be able to talk. So thank you very much for that. And just in recognition that we co-create this safe space together, Be Strong Families has agreements. So we're going to ask if you would agree to these agreements, put I agree in the chat. And the agreements are pretty simple. It's just kind of to speak from your own experience, treat other people the way you want to be treated, and be here now with us. So if you agree to these, type I agree, like Tiffany and like Angie, Tammy, Amber, Christina, Danielle, Rachel. Awesome. So without further, we're going to get started, and Andrea is going to take it away.
Okay. All right. Again, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. In today's webinar topic is helping families with home management during and after a pandemic. And the strategies that I'm going to be sharing, I love them so much because they are definitely universal. They are helpful before the pandemic, during, and definitely after. So you definitely will leave with information that you can use to help families with for years to come. Next slide, please.
I'm hoping to get some tips for myself too.
And that's one of the favorite things that I love about this entire presentation is that like 99.9% of it is definitely my own experience, things that I have either gone through in the past or currently going through, or I know someone who has. So I definitely am going to engage with you today as a parent, someone who is not just um, sharing random information, but this definitely is a lot of my own personal experience. So I'm excited about that today. So I do just want to share this disclaimer, which I have already kind of alluded to a little bit. This presentation includes general views, thoughts, and opinions of ideas to help families. Ultimately, as professionals, it is always best to serve families in your community based on your company's or organization's policies and procedures as described in your job description for each individual or individuals that you serve in your place of work. So if these tips are helpful, great. But as always, you just want to make sure you're following everything that, your job requires of you to do. Next slide, please. All right, so today's objectives. Today we will discuss practical tips, and I want to stress the term practical because I'm a pretty simple person. My life can be complicated. I have 5 children. I homeschool. I am in the process of growing a business, and I volunteer in other areas. So it's a lot to juggle. So I like to keep things as simple and practical as possible. Practical is important. So my objective is to discuss practical tips to help families improve and better understand and create ways to, number 1, figure out their finances. Number 2, create schedules and routines. Sorry, let me move this over. Next, get in the habit of meal planning, setting goals, and prioritize family time. Now, of course, there are many more other skills that are so important to families today, but I chose these 5 because these are definitely some of the main areas where within my own life, when I am being intentional in these areas and working at improving them, that's when I see the most overall success in my parenting life. I feel less stressed, more organized, and just the whole function of my home functions better. And the reality is I realized that over the years from just getting help in my own personal life, I realized that it wasn't just the outside help that I received that helped me to be able to help my family, but also incorporating these, what I like to call homemaking skills. And when you partner that together, that's when I seem to experience the most and best results. So that is what I want to share with you today, so that hopefully you can take some of these tips back to your families in addition to what you're already doing, and just partner them together so that you can better serve or add another layer of service to the families that you're already serving. Next slide, please. All right, so before we get started, we are all going to engage and participate. I would love to hear from everybody today. I don't want to do all the talking. And I want to start this webinar off with these 2 questions. And like I said, I would love to hear from everyone if possible. But can you describe what comes to mind when you think about the word homemaker? Or do you think homemaking skills are still relevant today?
So Denise says household family manager.
Okay, great.
As a homemaker.
Okay.
I was going to say it does have a little bit of a retro feel. Like it has a little Ozzie and Harriet kind of a feel. Like I think of home ec when I was I don't even know if they teach that anymore, but girls had to go to home economics classes and boys went to shop.
Yes.
And then when I was in middle school, and then they opened it up and did, so the girls could take shop and boys took home ec too. Skills are needed now more than ever, Denise says. And Angie says managing the dang house is definitely still a thing.
Yeah.
As a family member who provides for their family.
Mm-hmm.
And Tyria says multitasker and life coaching skills.
Mm.
Says more work than a full-time job. Skills are definitely needed. Says what comes to mind? Someone who doesn't work and just cooks, cleans, and takes the kids to school. And make sure all panelists and attendees, so everybody can see what you're writing, because I know Tammy's going to say, I don't see that. Anyway, Amanda says a person who handles the daily life of everything in the home. Yes, as the home is essential to the family. And
Okay.
Amber says home family management and the skills are relevant.
Wow, that's great.
I think of like homemaking is like when you have a full-time job, it's like what you do on the side, it's but it's more like when you say making it sounds more intentional, and it sounds more like I don't know, makes me think like, how can you do that on the side? How can you make a home on the side? Like
Well, everybody's response sounds good.
Angie says, I'd agree it's needed now more than ever, as so many people are juggling work, school, and extracurricular schedules. And
Yeah.
Andrea says, skills are still relevant today. You manage everything related to your home and family.
Yes. And what I love about this word is that I really don't feel there aren't any wrong answers. There's such a wide range of what homemaker means. And so we're going to just lay a little bit of groundwork before we get into the tips. So that's why I'm going over this homemaker definition here. So can you turn to the next slide, please? All right, so Webster's definition is one who manages a household, especially as a spouse or parent. And I would just like to add in there, caregiver, grandparent, whomever is managing the home, children. And then I have Andrea's definition. It's just 3 simple words. Remember, I like to keep it simple, and that is making home work. So whatever home is, as a parent, as a caregiver, we are just striving to make it work. And for years, I feel like I really struggled with homemaking because there have been seasons where we, as a family, we didn't have our own house. We lived in my aunt's basement, or we've lived in an apartment, or just so many different living arrangements. But even in those seasons of life, I was still homemaking. I was still trying to figure out how to make home work. And this is like one of the most important pieces that I hope you can take back to your parents, is to just let them know, that whatever they have to do to make home work for them is fine. We're not here to judge or criticize or, say that somebody else's home should be functioning like ours. But as a whole, that's ultimately what parents are trying to do. They're trying to figure out how to make home life work for them. And as a result, everybody may have to function a little bit different. Some people can be full-time homemakers and some cannot. But at the end of the day, we're all just trying to make this work. So the next slide, please.
I love that too, because you're talking about the difference between, like, what it made me think of is the difference between a house and a home. And how do you make your apartment, your house, your living space feel like home for you and your children? Because home has such a nice, secure, comforting, kind of vibe. Like, how do you get that vibe to be happening?
Yes, yes. And that's exactly what we're going to dive into, how to create that atmosphere at home, whatever home is, because as she said, it's not just about the structural, whether at the time we were in my aunt's basement or, a small apartment, whatever, that was still home at the time. So it was still my job to create that home feeling. So why do we need to get a new perspective on homemaking? Plainly put, so that we can fairly see parents through the lens of one common core value, which is parents are just trying to make their homes work. I think it's so important, whether we are teachers or social workers or, whatever professional field, is just to remember that even though parents may do things a little bit different than maybe, you would or I would, we still can strive to see parents all with the same common core, which is that they're just trying to make their homes work and do what they feel is best for them and their children. Next slide, please. All right, and here's the good news, because I know there have been a lot of unsettling news, but the good news about this is that the global pandemic has most people's attention in some way, whether we are trying to ignore it, whether we are trying to figure out how to outsmart it. We're all thinking about it in some way, and families specifically are rethinking priorities, which for you in your professional field means that families are open to many new ideas. So maybe prior to the pandemic, when maybe a family would have never thought about homeschooling. I know personally, I have many parents that tell me, I love my children, but I do not have the patience to homeschool them. Well, maybe this has, caused them to rethink or reimagine how to maybe make that work on a more permanent basis if they choose to. So that is definitely one of the beauties that I can see in the midst of all of this, is that parents are really rethinking things that maybe they would not have considered before. So maybe a lot of things that you have tried to communicate to families that maybe they were not as open to, this, I believe, is a great time to maybe revisit some of those ideas or plans that your organizations have thought about to try to help families. So the next slide, please. Okay, and now we are going to get into the tips. So I just kind of wanted to lay that groundwork of homemaking, and what it means, because this is what this is all about. We are helping families to help them make their homes. And so these tips that I'm going to share really will do families no good without this key point, which is this big word right here, which is encourage. If you close your eyes for a minute and just imagine if you're driving on a road in the middle of nowhere, you don't know where you are. You really close your eyes now. I want you to experience this with me. So you're driving on a dark road somewhere. Well, no, it's not dark because you need to be able to see. So you're driving on a road, but you're lost. You don't know where you are. And then you come to an intersection on the road, and you see a big sign that says judgment. Or then you see another sign that says control. But then you see a sign that says encouragement. If you're lost and you still don't know where none of those roads will take, more than likely you're going to take the road that says encourage or encouragement. You can open your eyes now. And we want to remember that we're sharing these tips not to control families or tell them what they need to spend their money on or tell them how they need to educate their children, but we're telling them these tips just to help. Parents ask for help, or sometimes they don't quite know how to ask, but maybe just you as an observer can maybe sometimes offer suggestions in a loving, caring way, but ultimately it's always to just encourage. That's what this is all about. We just want to let our families know that we're here to support and encourage them. And one thing that I think is so important to add to this is that as a parent, as I stated before, there are many different areas that I volunteer in and things that I do. And it really matters and it means something when I hear, somebody from an organization verbally tell me, some type of encouragement, whether it's big or small, whether they say, wow, Andrea, I really like how you, were patient with your kid while you were trying to do that Zoom call. Because I know on the inside, I am like fried, I'm just like, I've literally been in tears before because I, just wanted that moment to be so perfect. And then, I have a toddler and a little one coming. So just to hear that encouragement, it really matters, or you could have a parent who's just really feeling maybe depressed or sad, but when they go to bed at night, maybe they can think about or remember some ways, some words that you actually spoke and said to them that encouraged them, that maybe will help them sleep a little bit better at night. So I know that might sound a little cheesy, but I really sincerely mean that. Just if we can remember to verbally, encourage our parents, verbally say, I'm sharing this with you because I care. I think these may be some great ideas. Are you interested? That's much more different than making a parent, feel bad or feeling like, you need to meal plan because you just fed your kid McDonald's all week long. We don't want to do that. We want parents to leave your organizations feeling supported and encouraged. So the next slide, please. Okay, finally, the tips. Here you go. So tip number 1 is to help families figure out their finances. And I know myself personally, and probably many other organizations, if you're not specifically a financial organization or business, that might be one area where people really don't feel qualified to talk about or help somebody else with. But I can tell you, I'm sharing this information, and this is just information that has greatly helped my family and I since the start of the pandemic, since last March to be exact. And I am in no way, a financial advisor or anything, but I would share this with anyone because it's very simple, practical, and we have already improved, from the information that we have learned. So sharing, when I'm about to get into the financial information, you don't have to be an accountant, you don't have to be a financial expert, but these are just simple, practical tips to help families. And here's another reason why I think this is so important to share, even if, you're not a certified accountant or what have you, is because many times when parents come to places, I have been there, for financial help, whether it's rental assistance or utility help, one of the first things they ask you to do is to fill out this budget form, to kind of see, okay, well, where did your money go? And if I could be completely honest, and I think I may represent many parents, I honestly can't tell you because I'm not really good with my finances. So I remember, the last time I had went to this place to try to get help for rent or something. And I just remember thinking, like, I have no idea exactly what I spent on my groceries, or I think I spent about this much in gas. So, this is just a small step. You don't have to look so big picture with it, but just know if there's any type of just a small piece that you can, a small financial piece that you can add in addition to what you're already doing, it will definitely help your families. And so I just broke it down into 2 parts. The first part is to track your daily expenses. See how simple that is? You do not need a college degree, to tell someone, hey, tracking your daily expenses will help you see where your money is going. And what are some of the benefits of that? Number 1, you can clearly see where money is being spent. How many times do parents or anybody, if you're not tracking those expenses, do you get paid, Friday, and then by Monday, you're like, okay, wow, that, kind of went kind of fast. So just being able to help parents see the importance of just doing something simple as far as tracking their expenses will better help them be more organized, if they are in a position where they need financial help. They can clearly show on paper, yes, my check was X amount, but this went here and this went there. It gives them a layer of confidence. So, they know that, no, I am doing right with my money, but, I'm just a little short in these areas, or I just need a little bit of help in these areas. So tracking expenses is definitely, just an easy step that anybody can start at any time. Second, it gives more confident wage requests for job opportunities. And I really like this because when you begin to track your expenses, then especially as you doing this, pandemic stuff, as you are helping families who may be in the process of trying to find a new job, because they're tracking their expenses, they have a much clearer idea of what they really would like to ask for when they're getting hired. They know that, I need to make at least this amount of money to cover my expenses. But you will only really know that without guessing or just thinking as you track those expenses and as you are seeing exactly where your money is going. And then last, I put laser focus on financial areas to adjust. This is this part specifically, my husband and I, we do at the end of every month. After we've tracked our expenses, we see exactly what we spent on what I call non-essentials. We see exactly what we spent on essentials. And parents will, for the most part, those who do want to do better with their finances, they will be honest with themselves and say, okay, wow, I see, honestly, I really do spend too much eating out. That's something I need to fix. But if you're not really tracking that and looking at that, it may not feel as bad as it really is once you see it on paper. And so I just wanted to show this bill organizer binder. This literally is all we have we have all our finances in there. I don't have anything fancy, this doesn't have to be tech heavy, but just simple. Just encourage your parents to keep things as easy and simple as possible to help them stay organized and really get a good look at what they are doing with their money.
So Andrea, Julia says, create a budget, make sure all expenses and tithes are added in, insurance, food, and fuel. And I was thinking about budgeting, and I was thinking how brilliant it is that you're explaining the budgeting process from the ground up in a different way. Because I know when I've tried to get people to make a budget, it's very difficult. It's very difficult for people to really know how much is going to go for this and how much. And it's also stressful because they start feeling like, oh my God, I don't have enough money. Whereas if you start your way and you start from what are you spending currently, you can also, you build it up, you build your budget up from the ground. And you can also then see when your paycheck is not covering all of your needs, you can see that it's not a question of working harder.
Right.
It's a question of getting a different job or reducing your expenses. And that, I think I've also counseled people who just felt like they needed to work harder and they could just work more, or they work harder at the same job. But it was clear to me, like, you're never gonna get ahead of things. It's going to be like a hamster on a wheel unless you change the job you have, because it just doesn't produce enough income to meet your expenses. And that might sound like something that's easy and obvious, but it's not to people. It's not. And so I feel like what you're suggesting, like instead of starting with creating a budget, starting with tracking your daily expenses is a practical way to get to a budget.
It's so true. And also, like if I go through here, you may see something like Netflix or Disney Plus. Well, if we are in a situation where we need to start cutting back, we have a clear vision of, okay, this we can cut back. It's just something about seeing everything on paper that really makes a difference. It is a little tedious, it is a little time consuming, but it is so worth it. And you're right.
So go on. I was just thinking, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's thinking like in terms of, I just got a new Fitbit, right? And I'm tracking what I eat. And every time I start tracking what I eat, I always am aware that when I don't track it, I eat a lot more. Do you know what I mean? That's the other thing, is just having to write it down also makes a discipline. Like maybe you won't do that because it's going to be so much that you can't afford it because it's going to go right to your hips. So I'm using like an analogy with dieting, but it's kind of the same thing. If I'm writing down all my expenses and I'm thinking to go through Starbucks drive-through, I might be like, you know what? I'm gonna be home in 10 minutes. I can make myself a cup of coffee
Yes.
and not spend that $3 on the cup of coffee,
Exactly. Yep. So true. um, And so the second part here under the finances, I have create a financial organization system, which I just showed you was a binder. I'm sorry, a binder. And the benefits of that is that the bill payment documentation, you can see once again, it's for us because we like paper and pencil. When we pay the mortgage, we check it off. It's like a check and balance system. I have everything here. I'm keeping up with the bills. They're all in one place because that has been so stressful too in the past, and I've been disorganized and looking for bills. Even sometimes when parents come in for help, and so many times, organizations are like, okay, well, bring your electric bill, bring your water, and you're like scrambling, looking for stuff. It is such a weight lifted off when you have, your information right there in that binder, and you can pour things out. And then next, I have you can monitor price increases. Like I said, we started this last year. So this year, we'll be able to kind of look at, are things going up? Did Netflix go up? Do we want to continue that? We can pay attention to what's going on with our utilities. It's just a way to just keep a really good eye on our finances. And it's this little running joke that I have, anytime with my husband and I, we really, like, oh, no, we, got to make time to do it. And we may not necessarily feel like it. But I just remind myself that nobody's going to care about your finances the way you do. If nobody opens this notebook and go through it, it's not going to happen. So I think too, that's another way to empower your parents to show them how they can begin to take control of their finances, even when they feel like they are at a job that's not paying well or paying what they want. And, you can feel this sense of hopelessness, but you can at least begin to take steps to take control, and see what you have and, monitor it and organize it in a way so that you know how to move forward. And then last, I mentioned this one, is just less financial stress of gathering information. You need to find it.
That's great. And Andrea, Julia is putting some also tips in the chat. She's directing them to panelists, so the other attendees can't see them, but some people pay the minimum on their credit card payments also. Credit is a whole nother topic.
Right.
And using credit wisely and not, ending up paying triple what, you borrowed is another whole issue.
Right.
But also she's talking about, like, when you were talking about monitoring price increases, and I think I liked it when you were talking about writing down your, Disney being something you might be able to cut. You also start thinking creatively and thinking about, well, if we have internet, Hulu might be a better option than Dish, or we can, like, what this huge Comcast cable bill or Xfinity bill, like,
Right.
maybe I can find a better way to have access to this, to what I need without
Right.
paying so much money. And I think that it is knowing what you're spending.
Yes.
And having it all organized. I also love, like, what you said from the beginning of this, there's a theme that organization reduces stress. And so sometimes people get overwhelmed by the idea of having to organize, and it temporarily adds stress. But just what I'm hearing from you is, like, being organized, being able to answer the questions that are asked to you, knowing what you have, knowing where it's going, is really a stress reducer.
It is. It's worth all the energy up front. And I always ask myself, what in the world was I doing, before getting organized in this? So definitely, yes. Next slide, please. All right, tip number 2, help families create simple schedules and routines. And I put here to have consistent key points of day, for example, mealtime, bedtime, learning, activity time, etc. I totally understand that, especially, as a family with multiple kids, that every day is not going to look exactly the same. But what I do strive for is to at least be consistent at those key points of day, which for me personally is, trying to make sure that no matter what, we're eating as close to 6 o'clock as possible. A lot of times when you are working with families, and that's kind of where they are, they're just feeling like they can't quite get a handle on their day, and, just trying to juggle everything. Maybe you can just give them, just starting with little steps. Okay, I get it. Maybe the whole 23 hours of the day is all over the place, but at least that 1 hour, maybe 6 o'clock, that, that's when you're back home, that's when dinner is going. And then just slowly begin to add in key points of the day where you try your best to just be as consistent as possible during those times. As a parent, just taking one small step is much more manageable and then realistic, because that's another thing too. As parents, we're looking at everything on social media, we're talking to our friends, and it always seems like everybody else, is way more organized and have it together. But, we, as a parent, we have to do what's realistic and manageable for us. There are some parents who I know who block schedule their entire day. Personally, I'm not there yet. And you may have parents that are not there yet, but at least, just giving them, just be consistent with dinner, try to be consistent with what time you bathe the kids when possible. And what are the benefits? Number one, it's much easier to structure the day. Like I said, especially, the weather's getting nice. We're all going to want to be outside. And that's great. But at least if I know, okay, dinner is at 6 o'clock. So that means, we got to be to the playground and back home, sometime before 6, if I want to try and be as consistent with that as possible. So once again, just trying to take those steps ahead of time to keep us as much as possible as we can be organized before things get stressful and out of control. And then this is just a little quote that helps keep me grounded. I said, a plan in place is a plan to go back to. So I just remind myself of that, every time I begin to feel, a little condemned that, oh man, I haven't been consistent with, X, Y, Z. I just remember that at least I have my plan. So when I get off track, there's something that I can go back to. But if I never had a plan in place, if I never made a intentional decision to say we're going to eat dinner at 6 o'clock, if I never did that, then I don't have anything to ground myself to. So, that's another great way to encourage your parents is to just, when they feel like, maybe, I said I was going to do this and do that, and I didn't. It's okay. The fact that you said it lets you know that you do have something to go back to. There's some type of plan that you do have in place, and you just need to adjust to get back to that plan. And then last, I said that it makes it easier to manage and delegate household tasks. This is great because let's stick with our dinner example. If, dinner at 6 o'clock, if that's a parent's goal, and then maybe they want to go to school at night, and maybe grandma said, okay, I'll watch the kids in the evening. You can tell grandma, mom in that case, okay, great. I try to feed the kids every day at 6 o'clock. But if that was never established, then maybe grandma, just let the kids do what they want, eat when they want, and it just, you come back and then you're feeling bad because you're trying to do something to better yourself, but while you're gone that your house is going a little chaotic. So, but when you have a plan in place, even if the person doesn't stick to it, you could at least bring them back to that conversation. Hey, remember, I really want to go to school at night, but it really is important to me that while I'm away, I know the kids are consistently eating at this scheduled time. So it helps you to be able to, well, not you, but it helps your parents to be able to get the help they need so that they can better themselves and know that their home will still function the way they wanted to, as if they were there. And the routines, what are the benefits of routines? Our schedules are more time related, dinner at 6 o'clock, whereas a routine, may not be exactly at the same time, but there's a routine. For example, personally, my routine with the little ones is you get a bath, if it's a bath night, if not, we wash your hands, brush your teeth, bed, and a book. They like that's the routine, sometimes if they get in the bed a little bit later, the routine doesn't change. So I'm not saying that, you have to just tell your parents, they need 10 routines for a day. Just start with one. If you have a parent who's feeling overwhelmed, maybe they're adjusting, they had one kid, now they have two, or whatever the case, just help them. Okay, let's just start maybe with a bedtime routine. What is something that you can manage now, because at first you had one kid, so you could read 5 books, but now you got 2. So, maybe you just want to do 1 or 2 stories. As family dynamics change, it's okay to help for your parents to adjust and change their schedules as needed. And then just begin to implement just a few routines. Personally, I don't, believe in everything just so rigid, but just those main key points of the day, having a couple of routines to kind of help the process be a little more smoother. And another benefit for that is that children know what's expected. When my 3-year-old gets into bed, he knows mom can I pick out a book? He knows this is what's happening. And when it doesn't happen, then I need an explanation why not, So, and it happens sometimes. Like if they get in really late, I'm like, no, we're not doing a story tonight. You just need to go straight to bed. And that is okay, because remember, I do have a plan, but tonight we just need to deviate a little bit, and that's okay. And then last, I put that it builds independence and ownership in children. They know, it's time for me to brush my teeth. They're taking ownership of responsibility of brushing their teeth. It's time for me to get my pajamas on. They know, okay, I'm getting myself ready for the bed. I think it just builds just independence and make them, just to take ownership of that process of growing up, basically. It's a very kind of indirect way of helping children grow up. And, that's what we want. We want, children to be able to be independent, where they are in their stage of development. And as you help parents help to create routines, that's a great way to start with building that independence in children. The next slide, please. All right, and tip number 3, help parents understand the value of meal planning. This is definitely like one of my favorites. I could talk about this forever because I don't know, I just didn't value it, especially when we like live with other people or, just how I viewed myself, because I felt like, I don't know, I was, in a lower income bracket. So, that's not valuable to us. No, I kick myself because I just didn't do this sooner in life. But what I have here, plan out meals for the day, week, or month. Meal planning is, along with budgeting, is one of the biggest important changes that I made, because to be completely honest, like I almost used to hate dinner time because I never had anything ready. Of course, all the kids are hungry at the same time. Everything is frozen. It's just was stressful. It just got so much easier when I began to meal plan. And so what are the benefits? Well, number 1, because I'm planning out, what we're going to eat for the week, one method of meal planning is shopping the sales. So you can either go online, or if, you parents still get the sales paper, just menu planning around what's on sale. This is a great tip that you can definitely share with your families who are trying to look for ways to cut costs, is actually making their meals based on what's really, really cheap that week at the grocery stores. And then number 2, you get to slowly build and use a home food pantry. So let's take something like spaghetti sauce. if it's on sale at Aldi's this week, okay, I'm going to, get some for maybe spaghetti that week. And then I'm going to also pick up 2 other jars. And then I'm going to begin to slowly build a food pantry, at home. And this is something that, there have been seasons where we've received food stamps and just all type of food pantries. We've done it all. And still, no matter if you have families who are receiving benefits or going to food pantries, it doesn't matter. This is still such an important skill and way to help them stretch what they have, and then also build up that food pantry in their own homes. So I would definitely, just encourage you to find a way to to get over the importance of meal planning, whether they're receiving benefits or not, or whatever the case. It's been so helpful. And then also I put that you can better monitor your family's nutrition. It's helpful. Like, for example, one of my sons was experiencing some skin issues, and because of meal planning, at least I only meal plan dinner. I don't do breakfast and lunch. I'm not quite there yet. But at least, it gave me a clear picture. I can see, what he's been eating, over the last few weeks to just, try to maybe give me some ideas of what could have been causing those skin issues. So meal planning, helps parents to be able to better pay attention to what their kids are eating, if health issues come up. And then less frantic at mealtime. I talked about that. And then also you can learn new recipes. This is another thing I love about meal planning, because forever I would cook the same thing. And, our family ate it, but just to try new recipes, I didn't start doing that until I started meal planning. And I added in this website here called addsaltandserve.com. And this website will literally email you meal plans for the entire week, all the ingredients that's needed. And I love it because I don't have to go searching on Pinterest or, all these other things. Like, they literally just come in my, my email, and I can just, pull from those recipes. So that may be great, for your families who feel like they're not good cooks, or, don't know what to try. Maybe them just receiving some recipes will be a good help for them. And next slide, please. And tip number 4 here. Move this over. It says to help parents set goals, starting with one goal. This is definitely so helpful because as a parent, there are many things we desire to do for ourselves, for our family, and it can feel overwhelming without, small steps to help us get to the big picture. So I have here that help parents see how small bite-sized goals lead to big picture dreams. And over here, I have the picture that says dreams are worth fighting for. So many times, in which you probably already do, you'll encounter parents who may have had big dreams to do all types of stuff. But then, we start having children and family, and we just kind of feeling like, those dreams are either not important or not achievable at this point in life. But just helping your parents see, starting with one goal, one step, even in the midst of raising your children, how it can move you closer towards those goals. And I have here the benefits of doing this. So number 1, more likely to stay motivated. As I mentioned, it's so easy as a parent to just focus 99.9% of our energy on our children. But we can stay a little motivated when we see, okay, wow, a goal is to save $5,000. Well, as I just start, tracking my expenses, I can start seeing where my money is going. Wow, I can save an extra $50. And if I do that for this many months, that's what all these tips are about. Just, putting it all together to help parents create the life and achieve the desires they want for their family. And these small action steps can eventually lead to those big dreams and aspirations that many of us parents do have. And then second, goals become achievable. Like I said, you start feeling like, wow, I can do this. I don't have to wait until my kids are off at college before I can do anything. You feel that sense of it is possible. And then second, parents become more focused. As a parent, I don't have a lot of time to waste because, number one, I'm taking care of a family. And then number two, I know that I have these big picture dreams. And so that's why, we're putting forth the little steps to get to that big picture dream that we have. Just definitely, all parents can appreciate that encouragement, because sometimes just the daily parenting can just keep you kind of tunnel vision. You just see kids, dinner, diapers, but to have somebody on the outside saying, hey, you don't have to put that totally off. Let's just take it one step at a time to work towards it. And then next, I put that it's easier to bring children along the process. Going back to the example, maybe going to college at night, when you have a family, when you can explain that to the children, mommy will be gone 1 or 2 nights a week, because this is what I'm doing. And with this type of degree, this is what I want to do. You can bring the children in and they can go through that process with parents, one step at a time, to ultimately get to that end desire. And then last, decisions are more purpose driven. As a parent, when you can help parents feel that their dreams are really possible, they just kind of automatically get more focused. The time wasters become less important. Toxic relationships, are they find a way to get out of them. It's like we find a way to stick to and focus on what matters. So it definitely will not only just impact your parent, but as you help parents feel that it's achievable to achieve their goals, you literally impact generations, after them.
Yeah, it sounds like what I'm feeling as you're giving your presentation, Andrea, is that as chaos dissipates, as chaos lessens, so does drama.
Yeah.
Chaos and drama are kind of go together. So
Yeah.
that as you get a handle on things and you tie some things down, you make it so you have fewer choices every day because
Mhm.
you made some of the choices for the week.
Right.
That it makes your life calmer and
Yeah.
reduces stress.
Yep.
And that's where you said contentment increases. So
Yes. Oh, I didn't see that. Maybe because it's the bars. So yeah, I didn't see that. Yes. As a parent, we are definitely way more content. I can be okay with not going to the mall because I know, because I'm tracking my expenses, I'm working towards something. There's something bigger that I'm working towards. So definitely contentment increases when we have those focuses that we're working on. And then next slide, please. And tip number 5 is prioritize family time. You can help your families create intentional time for family. And there are tons of benefits to this, which I'm sure my slide does no justice, but I just picked out a few. And the first one is parenting becomes more fulfilling when, as a parent, we feel like, okay, I work hard, I do this, and it's Friday and it's just all about my family, and we can just help parents to realize the importance of planning and prioritizing that time. And then next, it creates family bonding. Children feel loved, and it positively impacts the home environment. Earlier we talked about creating that home feeling versus just a house. And it's these things, it's taking these steps. It's prioritizing family. It's doing things to bond, to create that home environment that, children thrive off of. So it is so important. And like I said, I'm sure there are many, many more benefits, to have an intentional family time. And then the second part of that, just real quick, I have to invest in creative and affordable family entertainment. It doesn't always have to be Dave and Buster's. It doesn't always have to be a movie theater, but a deck of cards literally costs, I don't know, $1 or $2. I get most of my stuff from the thrift store, so I don't know the full price of a lot of things. Board games, logic games like Rubik's cubes, or just things that just create and forces conversations, creates togetherness. Baking, a homemade movie night, going for walks, building or growing something together. Just all the resources that you can think of that will help your families plan affordable, free, creative family time will once again do your parents and families so much justice that this slide cannot not even discuss.
Well, I'm going to just tease something because it goes right along with this tip. But I want to tell everybody who's attending that Be Strong Families is in the process of creating a game for family members to bring them together based around questions. So
Wow.
I just want to like tease that. So in the future, it's going to be available to all of you, and it's going to be fabulous. We've started playing. The team that's creating it has started playing to make sure we get the kinks out, and it's really wonderful. So just a little teaser there. This is great information, Andrea.
Yeah. The next slide is just the wrap up questions, and I'm done.
Fabulous. I think, we probably have time for one question. If anybody has a question or anybody has something that they want to contribute. I feel like this was really practical and very, I feel like, to me, one of the most important things is, as people who are working with families, we want to meet families where they are, right? So I feel like what you've done by giving us a presentation about what you've learned over time and how to encourage gives us all a sense of where to start sometimes, like, because that might figuring out an entry point, because I think sometimes when we're trying to help, we start too far down the line. That's what one of my aha moments is,
Mm,
that some of the questions that you're gives me different ideas of questions and how to answer them.
mm.
So, Angie says, thank you so much for sharing. Definitely reminded me of important things to talk with my families about. Andrea has a website, reallifeparentingstrategies.com. Can find her there. And we're really grateful that you shared this with us, Andrea. I think it was a fabulous presentation. I'm
Thank
really
you.
waiting for.
Thank you.
Amanda says, thank you for sharing. All right, let's go to the next slide, Paul. Join us again. This week we have Borrowing Basics with Rick. This is a financial borrowing. If you're interested in that, or families that you work with are interested in that, come join us there. Samantha Moore Valentine will be back on Wednesday doing prevention and community support. And then Alexandra and I are going to be bravely leading a conversation called When Is It Race and When Is It Something Else? So hope you'll join us for that. And then on Friday, Samantha Peterson will be here. Unfortunately, her co-presenter had a major health issue, so she's working on, but I think it's going to be on writing for scholarships, assisting kids with writing for scholarships. So that's our plan for the rest of this week. And then after that, next slide, Paul. I want to tell you all that on April 6th, we're going to be launching a vitality campaign, and the webinars are going to be intended to support that. We're going to invite you to 8 weeks of clearing out the clutter of the winter and jumpstarting holistic vitality. We're going to start with a getting started week, and then we're going to do a domain of vitality each week, and then we're bringing it all together with holistic vitality. And the webinar is going to change a little bit. Next slide, Paul. Because when Be Strong Families is going to do most of the one before this. Be Strong Families is going to be doing most of we'll have a few guest presenters, but mostly our staff will be holding space. And they're intended to be like a 30-minute check-in at lunchtime. A couple slides with micro training, but mostly, for those of us on this journey, it helps to kind of touch base and just keep you motivated. So we're also going to have on Fridays a weekly Vitality Cafe tied to the theme for the week. And we really just want to encourage everyone to live the vitality domains and for us to support each other in doing that. So creating kind of a community that's connected to wellness. So next slide. Wear your mask. Be Strong Families has really cute ones. And after that, we'll be back to these regular webinars in June. So if you or one of your colleagues would like to host a webinar or a series, please contact me and I will have a discussion and we'll get it going. Please fill out the ending poll before you leave. And thank you for being here today. You got some kudos in the chat, Andrea. So
Thank you all.
very much. All
Thank
right. Take care, everyone. See you next time. Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Andrea. Let's see, we have everybody who could fill out the poll. So we're going to be closing out. Thank you so much for your presentation. This will be on our website, bestrongfamilies.org, later today, if not tomorrow, including a look at the slides. So thanks again, and we will see you later.
you. Okay.